We are joined by Mark Mazzetti. He is the Washington investigative editor at the New York Times, and he is in our Washington bureau. Mark, good morning.
Morning.
Mark, the scandal of the memo, if there is a scandal, focuses on the warrant to surveil Carter Page. And central in the back and forth here is whether or not the FBI failed to disclose partisan connections that Christopher Steele may have had. He, of course, is the author of that dossier. What do we know about what the FBI disclosed or did not disclose about partisan affiliations?
You're right. That's the central issue. Boil everything down, and it gets to this question of, did the FBI tell the court that Christopher Steele's information was politically motivated, that he was being paid for by Democrats, and that issue is still in dispute. The memo that Nunes released yesterday said the court was never told of any political affiliation Steele had. The Democrats were pushing back and say, that's wrong. The court was told. So even after all of this buildup, this question still is unresolved and will still be part of the battleground going forward.
Mark, there is a Democratic memo, in effect a rebuttal to this. Will we see this memo?
Nunes said yesterday that they will put out the Democratic memo. It has to go through a declassification process. I don't know when that's going to be, but he's saying that that they will put it out. And again, this is going to continue to feed the dispute. You would have thought that this issue would have at least been resolved. The facts behind it would have been resolved by the time the memo came out. But in fact, it actually just created even more controversy. And that's something that the Democrats are going to continue to push back on because it's a central issue.
Mark, a lot of folks are saying the real bombshell in this report is that it inadvertently confirms that the source of the FBI's investigation was not Carter Page, but the other former Trump and foreign policy advisor, George Papadopoulos.
That's right. In December, the Times reported that the Papadopoulos information he had given to an Australian diplomat during a night of heavy drinking in London in 2016, actually was really the trigger for the FBI's investigation, which began in July 2016. It was not Carter Page. It was Papadopoulos and a couple other elements. The Nunes memo confirms that, says that Carter Page, the FISA warrant for Carter Page, actually came later, a couple months after that. So it was actually something that confirmed and kind of undercut the argument that Republicans had been making, that Carter Page was central to this whole thing.
Well, and
I do have to make one other point.
Yeah, go ahead, Mark.
No, one other point is that it was a little puzzling that the Republicans decided to make Carter Page part of this big campaign after the White House had spent a year distancing themselves from Carter Page.
The Papadopoulos piece is meaningful, right? Because the idea that somehow the Carter Page piece of this is going to discredit the Mueller investigation, well, if George Papadopoulos is actually the true source, doesn't it suggest that the investigation itself is legitimate, no matter what is the case with Carter Page?
Right. So if you look at what happened yesterday, it revealed that the FBI's investigation, which Mueller has now taken over, was begun long before Carter Page entered the picture and this FISA warrant was used. Remember that this is kind of a proxy battle. The memo is a proxy battle for the Mueller investigation, to discredit the Mueller investigation. And what we sort of saw yesterday was that it didn't really do that. It didn't discredit the Mueller probe because we learned that the FBI investigation, which Mueller took over, had begun long before Carter Page really entered the picture as a critical target in this.
All right. Mark Mazzetti, thank you very much for being with us this morning.
Thank you.